Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Can you guys hear me? I think we should be live on Twitch and we should be live on YouTube as well. Awesome. Kratos, how's the leg? It's getting there, man. It's still healing, but it's getting there. Hey, Lortello, thanks for the resub, man. Thank you very much. Hey, DJ, what's up, man? There we go. We got the YouTube chat as well there, so that people in Twitch can see what all the deal is with the guys in YouTube. ADJ says, I'm new to your videos, saw your tutorial videos. Nice, which one did you see, my friend? ADJ? Which one did you started watching? We got a bunch of videos. Nitin Kumar, what's up, man? Welcome, welcome. Gonna bring the music down a little bit. There we go. Ali, what's up? Hello. PC and Kush. Hello, guys. Maya and Substance Painter. Oh, nice. Maybe it was one of the masks. Kindred mask or some of those tools. Oh, dude, I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to pronounce your name. Oguskan? Is that right? Hello, man. Carlo Badocci says, hey man, you're huge. What do you mean by that? A big guy or we got a good following here? Ankush, I actually created a video. It's probably gonna release tomorrow or on Sunday about how to use the material ID for baking the detail, and I show all the steps. I did the short yesterday because I thought it was a fun topic, but I know that 1 minute is usually complicated to showcase all that information. Your way of explaining concepts in your videos deserve more. Thanks, man. Well, I mean, we've been growing so much. Like, we started this project, this channel last year, like a little bit over a year ago. And and we're already at what, like 21,000, I think. It's just like incredible. Meme Religion, when is the next portfolio review? That's a great question. The next portfolio review will be in 2 weeks, Friday 26th, okay? We have not opened the, what's the word, the submission post just yet, and because of obvious reasons. Some of you, most of you already know by now, but I broke my leg last week, so I've been out of commission for a couple of, well, not a couple, almost 2 weeks now, which has really, like, messed up my schedule. But yeah, we'll get there. Yeah, no, it's definitely huge, Carlo. It's definitely huge. Like, I was not expecting to get to this point. Like, I never thought that I could get, like, the little silver button, you know, the 100K thing. And now, with how much we've grown, I think it's possible. Like, probably in a couple of years, but it's definitely possible. How are you? How am I doing? Doing better, man. Thank you. Face curious. Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. As long as you guys keep supporting us and encouraging me to do more stuff, I'll be more than happy to continue doing this. Leg is going okay, 30DS. I can't say it's perfect, it still hurts. Especially when I do like a weird movement, or I stumbled a little bit, or like there are a couple of things where I touch certain parts and I just it hurts like really bad. Ali, are you use Substance Designer? No, I mean, I know the basics of Substance Designer, Ali. I've used it a little bit before. I've done like the traditional exercises, like the wood materials, brick materials, stone materials, things like that. I don't use it as much. It's a really good software, don't get me wrong. It's really powerful. But I do consider it to be quite niche. Like, you definitely need to spend quite a bit of time on it to make sure that you get like some good results. And at least in the kind of work that I do, we don't use it as much. Like, it's easier for me to just like buy a material or download a material that I might need than to, what's the word? Than to create it myself from scratch. Lyman says, "Hi mate, I just saw that thing happen to your leg while I was watching Sculpting iPad stream yesterday. I hope you get better as soon as possible." Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, at least now. Here, let me show you. There we go. We're at the studio now, so I mean, I'm still using crutches to move around and to, what's the word? Oh. You know, taking my medicine and all that stuff. But we're back in the studio. I've been able to work here for the past couple of days, so that's a good improvement, I would say. But I'm still like wearing my cast, and I'm gonna be wearing it for what, like, I think like 10 more weeks, probably. Oh yeah, my wife is. We've been watching House of the Dragon, and I did this dragon egg a couple of days ago. Well, not days ago, actually, a couple of years ago for the other channel. And she's like, "Oh, I want to have my own like version of eggs, and I want to paint them and have them on a little like chest." So I'm 3D printing this guy right here. You guys want to see how it works? Here. So this is the slicer, right? This is the Elegoo Cura slicer. And this is how the element's going to look from the inside. As you can see, it's quite dense, even though it's not completely filled in. 10% infill is what it's called. It's quite good. And it won't like use as a lot of material. It's fine. Like this one right here is only 155 grams. So it's not that bad. And it's a big egg. This one's like 13 centimeters. So it's going to be like roughly around this size. So it's going to be a good size right here. And what I'm gonna do, well, I already saved this into my disk right here. So now what I need to do This is one of the cool things about the machine that I have, that it's wireless. So I have my 3D printer downstairs, and here I just need to upload the file. Well, first let me delete this one, which is a previous copy. So I'll just upload the Dragon Decimated. That's it. Once it finishes uploading, which will take a little bit, I just hit print and it's gonna start printing. But yeah, this is a cool little dragon egg that I did. Here, let me show you the model. There we go. That's the model right there. No. This software, since it's European, it's gonna display it in euros, but this is Mexican pesos, so it's 70 pesos, which is about $4, roughly. So material-wise, it's around $4, because usually, at least here in Mexico, you can get a kilogram, one spool of filament, for about, I would say, like $25. And this one's gonna use like about the 1/10 of that one, a little bit, well, probably like two tenths of that. So it's gonna be there. But yeah, no, that's not yeah, it's not euros, it's pesos, Mexican pesos. It's just that it doesn't have a way to change that. Let's see, do big studios make their own materials, or they no, most of them will make their own materials, especially game studios will. However, like if there's a material out there that you can buy, they will buy it. You always in production, you always need to think about how much something is gonna cost you against how much it's gonna cost. So like, how much will something cost you if you buy it versus how much it will cost you if you produce it yourself, right? I'm gonna give you a perfect example. If you want to develop a game and you want, like, you're a big studio, right? And you want to develop a new game, you can develop your own engine, which is gonna take you a couple of years maybe to do the whole thing. Or you can just use Unreal or Unity and pay the royalties that they are requiring you to do once you hit certain like money threshold, right? And as a business, you always sort of like measure those things and be like, yeah, maybe it's better for us to do our own engine, or maybe it's better for us to use an existing engine. For instance, I think Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, the one that's on the Switch, I think that one has Unreal Engine as a base for their software. So for their engine, because I've seen like glimpses here and there. I'm not sure. I cannot guarantee because I have not confirmed it, but I've seen it before, and I think it uses Unreal Engine. Same thing for elements like speed tree, right? Like that's why in a lot of games when you open the game you see it's speed tree, because it's easier to just buy speed tree, buy a license, buy the assets, and use them in your game rather than hire an artist and have him do all of the different versions of trees and stuff like that. So yeah, it's that's how it works in the industry, or in production, I would say. Favorite House of the Dragon character? Ooh, that's a tough one. I really like these the Valarians. Corlys, is that's the main guy, right? Corlys Valarian. He's a dope character. Like, I really like his design. He looks very like badass. Let's see. Hi, Abe. I've been working on nonstop recently and I feel kind of burnt out. What do you like to do when you need to rest from work? That's a great question, Diego. That's a great question. So burnout is a very common thing. I've talked about this before, and there's pretty much, I would say, like two things that you could do. First of all, you can, let me go full screen here for just a second. You can just like go and do something else. Like, I feel like we as artists, we tend to be way too like over focused about the stuff that we do, right? So it's fine if you just go outside and have some fun doing something else, sports, a hobby, go to a bowling alley. Like there's a bunch of things that you can do that are not art related, and that sort of like break in your mind from not doing art can really, again, like kickstart things again, so that you get the motivation back. Another thing you can do is, and I've mentioned this before, just use the time that you would normally be using to do art to do something related to art that's refreshing for you. Reading, looking at like concept books and like studying the concepts, watching tutorials, like doing research, gathering reference, like all of those things that can be a little bit boring sometimes, but that they're not as consuming or time consuming. And again, sometimes while doing that, you will find the inspiration back. I think it was, I'm pretty sure it was Picasso that said that inspiration will find you working. So that's one thing that I also tell my students is like, hey, if you don't feel like doing something, just open Zbrush and start like moving clay around. And if you do that for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, eventually, boom, something clicks in your mind and you start working, you start doing something, and then like you're engaged with that thing and you get inspired and you just keep going. That's usually how it works. Yeah, Layman Hair says, I just bought a guitar to fight against the burning. Yeah, that works perfectly. So what are we gonna do today? That is a great question. And the answer, my friends, the answer is we're gonna be doing a weapon. We're gonna be doing a weapon because someone on the Instagram profile suggested, go here. Someone suggested that it would be a nice idea if I took the 3D scan of my broken leg and I did a weapon with it. And I thought like, damn, that's a great idea. That's like a really, really good idea. So we're gonna do that. Now, I got some good news and some bad news. The good news is that we do have a scan. The bad news is that it's not my scan. I was able to download, here, let me show you guys. There we go. So I was able to download my scan. This is my knee right here. And this is what I got from the files that they sent me. And as you can see, that's the fracture right there. So let me explain what happened. I mentioned this on Monday. Was it Monday? I think it was Monday. Or no, last Friday. So what happened is I fell from a ladder. I was like climbing down the ladder, and then the ladder slided or whatever, it fell. And I just like pretty much free fall and fell like straight into my legs. And I fell with my left leg first, right? Like this. So what happens is the femur pretty much crunched and impacted the tibia here, and it like moved this piece right here down, like it literally broke it, right? Like imagine two things colliding, so it broke that little section of the tibia. The doctor said that the tibia was displaced by 3.9 millimeters, so like super small distance, right? It's not that much of a distance when you think about it, but he said if you had displaced it 4 millimeters or more, we would have we would have needed to do a surgery. So thankfully we didn't need any surgery. He's just like, I'm gonna immobilize you. We're gonna wait a couple weeks. Hopefully this heals well and nice, and that's it. But that crack right there, like this goes all the way through the bone, and this little bit almost like split. If it had split, I would have needed some surgery there. But yeah, so the thing is, these images right here, they're really good. It's very cool that we have this full 360 view, and I've tried using a couple of different softwares from like photogrammetry to try to capture the different elements, but unfortunately they were not like good enough. The photogrammetry scans were not good. Like the alignment of the elements is way too separate from each other, so the softwares were not able to analyze this. Anyhow, the cool thing is that we have a lot of these things online, right? So I was able to find one. Online, a tibia scan. So we're going to be using that tibia scan. Let's see. 3D Print Hub, import STL, tibia. There we go. So this, my friends, is a tibia bone, a human tibia bone. As you can see, we need to clean it up. It's not like super high quality, or well, it's quite high quality, but there's a little bit of anti-aliasing right here. You can see all of those bandings. But this is a great way to start the design of a weapon. And that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be designing a weapon for ourselves. Yeah, exactly, Lord Tellum. I was lucky, or at least as lucky as you can be with doing that. 1.4 million is low poly now. Yeah, it's not really the 1.4 million. It's these lines right here, that banding, which is probably from the CT scan. Let's see. I'm in the process of a retop of a high poly character, which is heavily asymmetrical. Do you have an idea how to do it efficiently in Maya? Oh, yeah, no. Asymmetrical characters are a pain, man. Like, if you can copy some of the elements and move them to the other side, even if you need to rotate them and then re-project them, that could save you a little bit of time. I've been using TopoGun for the past couple of months, so I could recommend that one because it's very, very fast. But I understand it's a little bit of an extra price right there. Okay, so the first thing I want to do here is I want to reorient this bone because, as you can see, the orientation is very, very weird. This is the front view of the world of C, so we definitely want to have something that's a little bit closer to that. So I'm going to go append, and I'm going to append an arrow 3D. And then the arrow 3D, I'm going to rotate it forward. And this is only so that I know where my direction is. Then I'm going to go to the bone. I'm going to rotate around. As you can see, it's not going to be a... This is a good example. Oh, Jimmy. This is not going to be a symmetrical weapon because the bone is not a symmetrical bone, right? So my... this right here... Oh, I love this scan. The bones are very interesting, guys. Bones are, and I mentioned this on the anatomy course, they are the foundation of everything we do with anatomy. Do you guys see this freaking ridge right here? Beautiful ridge. Going all the way from the bottom part of the tibia to the top part of the tibia right there. Those ridges are very important because a lot of muscle structures will attach to those specific ridges. And you will see sometimes some little bumps and stuff where the tendon is actually like moving the bone. There's actually been some studies where anthropologists, they like uncover bones from people who died like thousands of years ago, and they can tell who was stronger than others because of this sort of like details that are imprinted on the bone. Because the more bulkier you get this, again, deformations on the bone that are really, really interesting. So it's a really, really cool thing right here. Now the front of the tibia is this part right here. Okay, so I'm gonna try to orient this as close as possible to a sort of like front view. Whenever we're doing weapons, you always want to try to model the weapons in such a way that they're facing forward, because that's usually how they're going to be attached to a character inside of a game. So this will be the orientation for the tibia right here. Even if it's asymmetrical, this will be the orientation. And again, I want to have it as close as possible to the center line. There we go. Now we don't need the arrow. It was just there as an easy way to find it. Oh, I love this. Look at this S-curve right here. This is one of the things that I mentioned in the course, which is gesture. One of the things that we sometimes struggle with is understanding that the body always has a movement to it. The body is not stiff. It's not just like a straight stick. There's movement within the bones. There's movement within the muscles. There's movement within all of the body parts. And that is what we know as gesture. If you're able to capture the gesture for your character in sculpting, in drawing, in painting, you're going to get a more dynamic and more intense representation of your character. And that is one of the secrets to getting something that looks very, very cool. Let's see. I just feel like I'm in an anatomy class in veterinary school after 10 years. Lol. Oh, you're a veterinary man? That's great. My brother wanted to be a veterinary when he was younger. And actually, my first job when I was a kid, I think I was like 12, was in a veterinary. I did the cleaning of the dogs and things like that. Okay, so here's the big question, guys. What weapon do we do? I know that this looks like a handle to me. It's something that you're probably gonna grab on this side right here, and you're gonna swing around, right? So I had three options: hammer, axe, or sickle. I think a sickle would be pretty cool. Spike club, yeah, the spike club could also work. But I was doing some research, and there was this villain. I haven't seen the movie. Puss in Boots villain. And there was the wolf villain from the Cat in the Hat or Puss in Boots or whatever. And he has this like 6 sickles. There you go. So I was thinking, yeah, a scythe, I think it's too long. Like the tibia is not that big of a bone. So I thought that a scythe would be a good idea. What do you guys think? Do you like the scythe idea? Yeah, let's go scythe. Let's go scythe. Okay. So we can do it here. Oh, this is something that I would definitely or probably try to do inside of Maya if I want to be super precise. But we can try to do it here. Let's try doing it here. So let's append or actually, let's go over to the meshes. And I'm gonna go for a ring 3D. And then I'm gonna go to initialize. And what I want to do is I want to divide or bring this all the way down to, there we go. Perfect. That's what I'm looking for. Let's do 6. Yeah, let's do 6. Maybe a little bit more radius, a little bit thinner. Okay, and I'm gonna say make polymesh 3D. Subtool, append, and we're gonna append that ring. Okay, perfect. So we're gonna rotate this ring. Where's the front view? There's the front view. Gonna be straight like that. And we need to find the proper scale for this thing. Now, as I see here, it's usually attached at the base. So that means it's gonna be roughly like this. I feel like it's a little bit more curved out. Otherwise, we're not gonna kill anyone with this. Could be something like this. Now, you know what, guys? I think I'm gonna take this to Maya. It's gonna be easier for me to plan things out in Maya. So let's do a quick decimation. So I'm gonna say clone. And then C plugin. Decimation master. And let's go 20K. We don't need a lot of detail, to be honest. Okay, well, what about the Morning Star? I kind of want to do a blade right now, to be honest. That's why I'm dealing more towards this thing right here. Let's open Maya real quick. By the way, I got new. It was very funny, guys. If you remember, like last week we had the Nomad the stream, and then the week before that, I think we had portfolio review, if I'm not mistaken, which was a portfolio review for June. Well, immediately after the portfolio review from June, I went out and I got new RAM for my computer. I cleaned up the CPU heatsink and the thermal paste because we had an issue with the stream. So I was ready. I was ready to start Monday and go and create something very cool. But then that's when I fell, and then these 2 weeks have been very, very weird because of that. Why don't you make that? Yeah, I'm jumping straight to Maya to do that. I'm not sure why this is not. Let me try again here. C plugin, preprocess current. Which is the best way when making a game asset? Low to high, high to low, all the time. Well, not all the time, right? But most of the time, high to low is better because you can concentrate on making a super kick-ass high poly. And then, like, doing the retopo, yes, it's tricky. Yes, it can be complicated, but that should be like the least of your concerns. Yeah, there's a weird Maya bug where it crashes on startup. Ben LOD says, "Hi, I have a good recovery. Hope you're doing great." Yes, I'm doing better, man. Thank you. Okay, for some reason that thing's not working. Why is it? Do we have some like... Okay, if that happens, sometimes it's because the geometry might have an issue. So I'm gonna go to modify topology, and it's usually like something. So I'm just gonna hit close holes. I mean, at this point, we don't have too much detail, so we can just dynamesh. There you go. Might want to dynamesh a little bit higher though. There we go. That's better. Okay. So C plugin, let's try 35K. There we go. Yeah, so see that? It was some sort of issue with the geometry. So let's export this. Thank you, by the way, Ben, for the sub, man. Thank you very much. Let's go over here. Let's call this TVM decimated. Now the question is, do we want a super clean, sleek metal, like something that was like handmade very, very nicely, or do we want a like a crude or like a edgy stuff, something that someone just tried to create in the best possible way? You can also see it's a little bit offsetted from the center. That's a little bit of an issue, so I'm just gonna center it back in. No, it's Maya, guys. It's like the freaking bug. It's Maya. Okay, so let's go right view, and I'm gonna do create mesh tools, create polygon. How do I get those red lines in Maya? That's a very easy question. Then just display, and then a grid, and you change the axis to red and the grid lines and numbers to blue. That's what I have for mine. This is I changed this because I'm starting to record the new course, the game environment course, and we're working on real world scale, so it's easier to visualize it that way. I would just Hanma, I would sculpt it first, like make sure the sculpt is like nice and clean, and once that's done, you measure it. You can do it here inside of Maya. If you are using Maya, the best way is just create a cube, this cube right here, and then set the scale, for instance, in Y to 50, and that is 50 centimeters inside of Maya. And then sometimes in the slicers, you need to do this like multiply it by 10, because it goes from millimeters to centimeters, but just like you can just measure it that way. Yeah, I need to work on it, man. Like this week's, again, since I couldn't do much, I've been working on the concepts and stuff like that. Okay, so here's my idea, guys. I think we're gonna use this main head as the insertion point of the sickle. So it's gonna be kind of like this. But I don't want to make it super curved, because then it's a little bit weird to hit someone with that. So I guess the point's gonna be like right around here. I'm gonna curve it out, and I'm gonna go to the back here. Kind of want to have a secondary little like pointy bit here at the back. What do you guys think? Does this look good? I always work with centimeters in Maya. Bursh Curry, welcome, man. Welcome. Yeah, so this past week I've been working on gathering the reference, doing some sketches, like understanding what we're gonna be doing, like how we're gonna like do the course. It's gonna be a big, like ambitious course, because environments are so like they can be very, very complex. It's like doing a course about 100 assets, right? So it's a complicated. Okay, so we're gonna go mesh tools, and I'm gonna say create polygon, and I'm gonna start here at the center. And I'm gonna do this right here. It's gonna be like a pike rather than a scythe, I think. And now I'm just gonna start like moving some of this vertex around to give it a nicer look. Again, I think we're gonna go for this, or like, since the bone is very organic, I think it kind of makes sense to make this thing quite organic as well. Yeah, I like this. I like this. A little thin where? On the tip? Make it be a little bit bigger. A little bit longer. We might need one more point here. There we go. Now, this is a method that I first learned from Alex Alvarez. This was back in 2011. Alex Alvarez is the director of Gnomon. This is how I actually found Gnomon. He was like doing a tutorial as well for a creature, and he did this weird blocking where he was using endguns and everything. And that's when I realized, like, hey, you can break some of the rules. Like, you don't always need to follow all of the processes, as long as you clean everything up by the end. There we go. Maybe a little bit pointier here towards the inside. I'm not sure about this like back pike right here. I think it was getting a little bit too big. There we go. So yeah, don't be afraid of using unorthodox methods, so methods that people would normally not recommend. As long as you get to the final result, and as long as you're not hurting anyone during the production pipeline, you're gonna be fine. So here I'm gonna extrude out. There we go. I'm gonna delete this face, and then I'm gonna mirror on the X negative. There we go. So we get, that's gonna be the thickness of the weapon. For weapons for games, I talked this in the weapons course, in the Blender course. I always recommend making them a little bit more or a little bit thicker than you might normally see them in real life, because if you make them super thin, due to the way games work, the anti-aliasing and the amount of pixels you're gonna have when the screen is like very far apart is gonna look just like very weird. Cerizal, no, it's not my bone scan, but it is a tibia. I was mentioning that I couldn't really get the bone scan to work properly. I tried a couple of methods, but unfortunately it didn't work. So now here, I'm gonna graph this center line right here. All of these guys. And we're gonna scale them in. Scale them in, and then we can bring it down a little bit. As you can see, that's gonna create sort of like the sharpness of the thing, right? This vertex, unfortunately, is causing a little bit of an issue. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to delete that, bridge that, and then probably just merge those together. There we go. See that? So we get this like very nice pointy bit there at the end. Now over on this side, we're gonna do something similar. So this is gonna close right there. Same as that one. Let's keep this a little bit clean right there. Of course, if we try doing number 3, everything's gonna break, but don't worry too much about that. I think it's this one that I want to push down. That. And actually, since the sharp border is coming all the way in this direction, it might just be a good idea to do it like that. So all of the, as you can see there, all of the border is going to be on the bottom side of this thing. Let's go top view, or sorry, right view. And I just need to correct this point right here so that it's a lot flatter. Perfect. So that will be the base mesh for the weapon, or the actual sickle. Let's see. I'm doing a biking character, and you've just given me an idea for one of her weapons. Just in a bonus, actually. Yeah, it's pretty cool. You had mentioned in the mechanical course that you learned some tricks from the guy who modeled the Iron Man suit. Yeah, that was very cool as well. Josh Herman was his name, or is his name. Very good modeler. What material for the blade? Probably just steel, right? Are you gonna do the texturing too? Well, it depends. Let's see how far we get. So this one, the only thing I need to do here is I'm just going to triangulate everything so that we don't get any sort of like issues inside of Zbrush. File, export selection. Actually, let's export both elements. File, export selection. Let's call this tibia sickle. Let's go to Zbrush. I'm going to initialize Zbrush. I'm going to go preferences, initialize Zbrush. It's kind of like resetting Zbrush. So we get rid of all of the elements right there. I'm gonna import, and we import the tibia sickle. And since it's an FBX, it will already import things on the center of the grid, or close to the center of the grid, and each of them is gonna be its own subtool. So this one right here, I'm gonna turn on the resolution high. I'm gonna turn on polish, and I'm gonna say Dynamesh. And now this is Dynamesh, and we can start sculpting. Yeah, Josh Herman, he's a really talented modeler. I'm not sure if he does a lot of texture stuff, but he models like really crazy things. So here I'm gonna use Train Dynamic, of course. and we're gonna start like modifying and adding a little bit of detail to the whole thing. So as I mentioned, I want this to be like a rough metal. So a rough metal weapon. And you're gonna see that usually like these very crude weapons, they're not as clean. It's not Damascus steel that we're trying to do. It's more like primitive metal weapon, or like stone daggers, obsidian daggers, and stuff like that. It's usually this very like, there you go. There's some sickles right there. But you're gonna see that it's usually like very rough, sort of like hammered look on the edge of the blade, and then the edge is very, very clean, right? So that's what I'm doing here. I do want to have a little bit of a cleaner silhouette here on the top. So all of this like strong borders that we had from the low poly, I definitely want to trim them down. There we go. And then on the borders here, I'm gonna do this. Now, why are we doing this symmetrically? We're doing it symmetrically because for weapons, you're never gonna see both sides of the weapon at the same time. Ever. Like, that does not happen. It cannot happen unless you have like eyes on both sides of the weapon, right? So it saves us a lot of texture space and a lot of polygons by doing weapons symmetrically. You can do them asymmetrically, like the Dwarven Sword on the Substance Painter course. We did that asymmetrically. Let me grab the polish hard instead. Polish. I feel like Trim Dynamic is... Oh, there's another one here in the brush sections that's a little bit better for that. Trim planer. No. Polish, 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 polish. There you go. And there's the polish hearth. Perfect. There we go. So that one's a little bit more aggressive. We might need a little bit more resolution, so I'm going to increase the resolution a little bit more there. There we go. Now, big question. Do we need to create a hole around the bone? Like a boolean to show where this thing is going through? No. Unless we need to like do a disassembly of the weapon or something, we really don't need to do it. We could just like carve a little bit in the bone or something, and that should be more than enough. Sarn is on the chat. What's up, Sarn? Welcome. Got our good old friend Sarn here helping us. In like a more professional space like studio, how frequently do you mix programs like Zbrush? All the time, dude. Like, that's one of my main like complaints, even about myself when I'm doing the tutorials. I would love to do a tutorial, and that's actually the game environment tutorial is going to be like that, where I just jump between softwares, because trying to do everything in Zbrush or trying to do everything in Maya or trying to do everything in Blender, it's just way too difficult. Like, you're just shooting yourself on the foot, and you're making things way more complicated than they should be. I cannot do that when I'm doing the tutorials, because when I'm doing tutorials, people usually are watching the tutorials to learn one specific software, so it would be very weird for me to try to use or teach different software. So I cannot, for instance, if I'm doing like the Zbrush, like the Oni course, right? I cannot do some assets instead of Maya, because if you don't know Maya, then you're gonna feel like I'm cheating because I'm doing things that you didn't pay for, right? So that's one of the problems. But in the studios, all the time, man, all the time you're jumping between one software and the other. Yeah. Exactly. Whatever makes your work easier and the pipeline and the result, or the final result, better, that's what you should be doing. Okay, let's add a couple of cuts. I think a couple of cuts, especially on the blade, are gonna look good. But before that, let me save, because this is one of those things that I feel is gonna crash quite a bit. TBM weapon, because we're going to be using the knife curve brush. We're going to remove a couple of bits and pieces here. There we go. That one looks a little bit too soft. There we go. As you can see, that's just a couple of extra details. I'm not sure I want to do a big one right there. That kind of weakens it. That looks fine for now. And of course, train dynamic to chip that edge a little bit right there. And Dynamesh. And since we got what's the word, polish turned on, it should make things a little bit nicer. So you do work with Dynamesh or subdeep method sculpting for 3D printing? You do both, man. Like you can work on both of the options, to be honest. I usually start with Dynamesh, and then especially with characters, when I feel like I got a good amount of results, I jump to subdivision. Subdivision is more efficient. You're gonna get a more efficient result by using subdivision, but you need to be sure that you're not gonna change anything else regarding, you know, silhouette and things like that. Okay, I'm gonna show you a trick here. I'm gonna go Lightbox, and there's a brush that I really like. It's kind of like hidden in here. It's called the Mallet brush. The Mallet Fast. And this one's very cool because it literally hammers down onto the surface, right? So what I can do here is I can change the alpha to a round alpha. Okay, probably a little bit softer. Probably like alpha 12. There we go. And then I can change this to spray. Lower the intensity because it's going to be a little bit intense. And as you can see, it's way too intense still. Very, very low intensity. You can get this sort of like hammered look on the metal. Right? So every time the hammer hits the metal, you're going to get this sort of like bumps, right? Along the edge. So this is a very, very good way to give that effect to this part of the blade. Remember, this is going to be like the dark part of the blade, right? And then as we get to the sharp part, you're going to lose this. But that one, this trick, I love this trick. Do you use ore brushes? Yes, when I'm doing stylized stuff, I use ore brushes. But for this one right here, that's a little bit more on the realistic side of things, I try to keep with other brushes. Do you speak any other languages? Yes, I speak Spanish, of course. I'm from Mexico. I know a little bit of German, so I can understand it. I can understand Italian as well. But that's about it. That's where my skill stops. I might need to learn more languages though. There we go. Now, as you can see, the border that we have right now going from the edge to this sort of like hammer look is very irregular, right? We see a very, very clean line. And usually in weapons, I mean, yes, you see that line, especially if someone spent a good amount of time like polishing the weapon. But sometimes you can also find a little bit of an irregular sort of like a look. So I want to go for a little bit more of an irregularity right there. So I'm going to break up the edge just a little bit. Not everywhere, just a little bit. So I might have some straight edges and then some clean edges right there. Now, for instance, with trim dynamic, we can clean that up. See that? See the difference there? Look at that. Look at that difference right there. So instead of having a super obvious difference between one point and the other, it makes it seem like whoever built this weapon, he made some mistakes. Like he sharpened things a little bit more than he should in certain areas, or after some battle damage, he got like a different result in certain parts. Remember that story is always a great way to add like complexity to your weapon. Look at that. And we still got the sharp edge. Later on, when we do textures and stuff like that, we're still gonna have a very cool thing. By the way, all of this, guys, like all of this process I'm doing, I'm doing it like at real time right now. Like this is the speed that I normally work on. And if you want to learn a little bit more like slow speed or tutorial speed, there's the Blender course where I cover pretty much all of the things that I'm talking about right here. Yeah, it's not the brushes, guys. The brushes are important. There was... This is an anecdote that I was told by a digital artist, like painter. He said that there was a very famous artist. I don't remember who it was. It was like a very famous digital artist, and people were always pestering him about like the brushes. It's like, what brush are you using? What brush do you have? What's your brush pack? Can you share your brush pack? Can you sell me your brush pack? Because we want to draw exactly like you do. He was like, dudes, there's no brush. There's no secret brush. And to prove a point, he took a picture of a baby. He cut out the face of the baby, and he used that as the stencil for the brush inside of Photoshop. He created a new brush with the baby's face. It was called the baby brush. and he painted exactly the same way he always painted, with the baby brush. And people were like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So it's not the brush, guys. It's the practice, it's the experience, it's the understanding of shapes, of forms, of depth, of storytelling, all of those things. Those are the elements that really make or break. Like, and this is very funny, because I get asked this question quite a bit. Like, what brushes do you use? Like this one's down here. Move brush, clay buildup, standard, train dynamic, Damien standard. Like, if you leave me stranded on an island and I only have those 5 brushes to work on a laptop or something, I can do fine. I can do perfectly fine with those brushes, because that's all you pretty much need, okay? You don't need more stuff. And you probably saw this on the stream from last Friday on the Nomad Sculpt. I was just using the basic brushes. It was just like 3 or 4 brushes, and I was able to create a cool looking character. So, yeah. How to use the knife curve brush? It's very simple, man. Here. Make polymesh, dynamesh. So the way this works is with Control and Shift, you go into the options, you're gonna select the knife curve. You press Control and Shift and you draw, and whatever is on the gradient of the curve or the line will get deleted, just like that. However, a very cool thing is if you tap Alt, you're gonna create a curve. And again, whatever is on that gradient will get cut out. But if you double tap Alt, you're going to create a straight line. You're going to get this cut right here. So you can combine them. You can go like this, hit Alt 1 time, and then hit Alt 2 times, and then hit Alt 1 time, and then hit Alt 2 times. And you create these very crazy shapes that you can very easily do the cuts with your element. It can sometimes bug a little bit. Like, I've had several crashes with the knife brush. They've been improving that throughout the versions, but it's still something that you might find here or there. So just be mindful with it. But it's a very powerful brush. I don't like this. I don't like the back part. I feel like it's too heavy. I'm not sure if it's that or if it needs to be like pushed in a little bit more. I'm not super fond of it, to be honest. I feel like it makes the design a little bit... I mean, it's not bad, but it's just... It's not flowing properly. Maybe just like make it a little bit thinner. Oh, sorry about that. I don't use plugins for modeling, Samuel. I know there are some. I think there's one called like the Ninja Box or Ninja something that some people use. I don't use plugins. Let's see. What's the difference between Dynamesh and Serum Mesh? Serum Mesh will give you a clean surface on your element. Let's jump to the bone real quick. And here, as I was mentioning, like we really don't need to... Oh, let's Dynamesh. We really don't need to do a boolean, but I would strongly recommend to do, again, like a little border there, so that it looks like the bone grew around the weapon or something. Of course, this is asymmetrical, so... But see that? It's just clay buildup, guys. Just using clay buildup. I'm giving this sort of like organic feel to the whole thing. Burn steel inside of substance. Burn steel, like burning steel, like when you're in the forge, you probably want to use some sort of like emissive, and it's layers. You want to create like a layer of red, and then like a layer of orange, and then like a layer of yellow, and you build up that sort of like gradient that you normally get. And you can use things like linear burn as an overlay method to punch the colors a little bit more. That's probably how I would use it. I only use assets that come with the software. Yes, I mean, when you start, it's fine. Again, as I was mentioning before, when you are working on a production, you might need to buy a couple of assets. You might need to buy a specific plugin. You might need to buy a specific software, right? Like to do the job. And it's perfectly fine. I know that there's this sort of like feeling among artists of those who call themselves like the purists, right? Like, I'm never gonna use the base mesh to do a character. I'm always gonna start from scratch. I love starting my characters from scratch because I feel like it gives them a very unique approach. But sometimes you can't do that. Sometimes you're gonna have to draw or grab a base mesh and work from that, because otherwise you're just not gonna finish. There's not enough time, and they're not paying you to do everything from scratch. So So there's nothing wrong. That's why I always tell you guys you need to separate the what's the word, the production side of things from the artistic side of things. Give me 1 second. I need to re-accommodate myself over here because it's starting to hurt a little bit. There we go. Is that fine? I feel like I moved the table a little bit. Okay. Let's see. Beko says, "Hi Abe, hope you feel better." And a question: I don't understand the tool section in Zbrush. Can you explain how it works? So the tool section is, it's like the file section. This is where you load, save, export, clone. So it's your organization. So I mean, the easiest way to explain this is like a toolbox, right? So if you have a screwdriver and a hammer and a drill, all of them are different different tools. But then within each tool, you can have multiple subtools. So for instance, let's say I'm working on a game and I have a female character, a male character, and an alien. I could have all of those 3 tools open here so that I can check between them, maybe steal a couple of assets like a pouch or like a belt, and you just transfer them from one tool to the other. But each one of those tools will have its own subtool, right? That's what you want to have there. Okay, I like how this is looking. Let's break up this area a little bit here. Martin David, feeling better, man. Still hurts. Still hurts, and I can't be sitting down for long because it starts pulsating. The leg starts like feeling weird. But I'll try to do. I'll try to be here at least for a couple of hours, as we normally do. Let's see how far we can push this this weapon here. DivJam says, "I'm a prop artist using Maya as a main software. Do you think Zbrush can be a..." Yes, dude. If you want to do props, like Zbrush is the way to go. Like you can do a lot of very cool stuff, especially hard surface things and like that inside of Maya. But Zbrush is a must-have for anyone who wants to do like props. I want to make sure that the curvature is clean here, so that sort of stuff right there. Okay, I like it. I think we're good there with the blade. So let's work a little bit here on the handle because I feel like we can definitely add something. Now, should we add something here on the bone? Because usually there's like a wedge or something going through the bone. I don't think I want to add bandages. Let's look for some concepts. Let's look for bone weapons. And we might find some inspiration that looks cool for us. Yeah, like we definitely are going to add some wrapping. Some like leather wraps. I know that there's like this cross-section wraps at the top, but I'm not sure I want to add that. I was thinking maybe like a bolt or something. A nail. Yeah, I was thinking like a nail. Or like, in Spanish we call them remaches. I'm not sure what the name is in English. Like a bolt or something. Yeah, I think like a metal bolt might look good there. So let's append. Here we can use the... What's the word? Someone was asking the knife brush. So I'm gonna... set this there. Let's make this a little bit bigger. There we go. Single or double? Single bolt or double bolt? Let's start with 1, and then if we feel like we can have 2, we'll have 2. There we go. I like that. It's gonna be a big bolt right there. Okay, so I'm gonna dynamesh this. High resolution. We have enough. And now, instead of having like a very symmetrical sort of like 6-sided or 5-sided bolt, I'm just gonna use my knife curve and I'm gonna cut the sides, but I'm not gonna be careful. I'm just gonna like, I don't care. I don't care. I'm just gonna do something like this, and there you go. As you can see, we get this very interesting like damage bolt going through the bone, right? So it's non-symmetrical, looks a little bit cooler. I think two is fine. 2 bolts right here, and I'm gonna just rotate this one a little bit, and this one's definitely gonna be a little bit smaller there. There we go. I was working on a project for 4 hours a day, and now my shoulder hurts. I try to, even when I'm working, I try to always take breaks, like every hour, every 2 hours. I just like stand up. I got the blessing of working from home, so my house is down here. Like you go out the door there, and then my house is down there. So I just like take a couple of breaks, and that really helps. Also, a good idea is if you're working a lot with the tablet, then switching to Maya so that you can work a little bit with the mouse and stuff like that. That's fine. Okay, here again, we want to make things symmetrical. You're never gonna see both bolts at the same time, so. What's the resolution? It depends, man. The resolution on Zbrush is, it depends on the scale of the object. Since this is a big object in scale right now, you're gonna need a bigger resolution. Is the old gizmo still useful? Yes, it's still useful. I use it quite a bit for transposing. On the anatomy course, we use it a lot for the transpose section, for the posing section. So yeah, it's still good. Even for measuring, you can use it still for measuring. Okay, I think I like those bolts right there. They look good. They change the silhouette, which is always good. What do I mean by the silhouette? If you change this to flat color, you should be able to see like the silhouette, and especially on this side, you can see that they poke out a little bit on the silhouette, and that's always sort of like helpful. Now let's go with the bandages here. So what I'm gonna do, what method should we use? It's just the traditional one. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna mask out some bands here. There's some people that like using, actually let's use mask lasso. Some people like using brushes, like bandage brushes. I find them okay. They never really get exactly what I want. So I prefer this method right here. There we go. And this is very interesting because in real life, if you're doing this bandage, you have a very long strip of leather and then you just wrap it around, right? But in 3D, we can't really do that. It is possible. It's just going to take you so long. So what we do is we fake it. We just add these loops and get them all throughout the element. So when people look at it, it looks like a wrap, but it's not a wrap. It's just a bunch of different rings pretty much bundled together, right? So I'm going to grab all of those. I'm going to say extract, extract. Actually, I always do this with thickness 0 first. There we go. And this is what we get. So quite nice, not bad. I'm still going to go to deformation. I'm going to use a little bit of polish by features or polish crisp edges. And then someone was asking about Siri Mesher. This is what Siri Mesher does. Right now, as you can see, the topology is very uneven, very like weird. So if we Siri Mesh, it will clean things up. It will give us something that looks way closer to what we normally see in other 3D softwares, especially if you bring this all the way down to something like that. And the cool thing about this is you can eventually use this ones as your low poly. Like you don't need to do all the work. You just reuse this ones and that's it. So in this case, we of course need to add a little bit of thickness to them. Again, in games, you usually want to exaggerate a little bit, not too much. Like, I think that's about right. I'm going to change the offset forward. There we go. So it should change the silhouette, but it should not be, unless you're doing like super stylized things, it should change the silhouette, but again, it should not be like extremely obvious. So something like that looks quite nice, I would say. And I'm going to hit apply. And now I can do Dynamesh again. High polish. There we go. So we keep the border. And then I'm just going to start damaging the border a little bit. Risim, what's up, man? Welcome to the stream. And yeah, thank you. Here's a good point where I would stop using Dynamesh and just add another subdivision level so that I can have enough geometry to do what I want to do, which is sort of like damages here. I'm new to ZBrush. What's the difference between subtool and Dynamesh? It's not subtool, it's subdivision. Subdivision is a process where you like literally subdivide the element and you get extra resolution. So every polygon gets divided into 4 polygons. And Dynamesh rebuilds that geometry every time you recalculate it. So it's really good when you're doing sort of like the exploration phase, but it won't hold edges very nicely. And every time you Dynamesh, you might get a slightly different result on your topology. So that's why I like to, once I have a good result with my Dynamesh, like what I did with this guys right here, I like to switch to subdivision. There we go. Evolution, doing good, man. Happy to see you here. Yeah, it's been good, guys. It's been good. My wife has been very supportive, of course, and we've been doing good. Yes, ropes and quartz need to be retopologized. Everything needs to be retopologized. Like I cannot, like this one right here, it's 253,000 points right now. So I definitely cannot bring this into a game engine. So I will need to retopologize. And yes, it's a pain. And yes, it takes a little bit of time, but that's how it is. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the bone. I'm gonna repeat the process, but now I'm gonna do it on the other direction. It's gonna be one right there. Let's do one right here. Just gonna be very careful not to touch the masks, as you see right there. Actually, let's keep that one for just a second. Let's do another one right here. And another one right here. Yeah, like that. And we're gonna repeat the process. So we're gonna go subtool, extract, accept, clean the mask, geometry, zero mesh, dynamic solo, half, zero mesh, dynamic sub, dynamic. Now the secret here is these ones are gonna be a little bit less thick, right? So we're gonna give them thickness, but not too much because they should be underneath the other ones. There we go. Something like that. And then we can go to these ones and we can push them a little bit out again so that we create that sort of like overlap. And that's the visually interesting thing that we see in handles, right? Like that. Right, Basca says, hello Eve, I loved your content very much. I have learned a lot from you. Thank you, man. Thank you for the support. There we go. Sorry, I'm getting in the zone, so I apologize if I'm not talking too much. And the cool thing about this method is, especially since the bone is it's non-symmetrical and it has a very particular shape, it's a very good way to make sure that it follows the perfect shape of the tibia, right? So now we can go to this once again, increase the resolution, Dynamesh, turn off Dynamesh, give them one subdivision level, and start adding some damage to the borders there. I was looking into learning ZBrush and it's a lot harder. No, it's super simple, dude. It's super simple. Hey, let's do this. Or not let's do this. I want you to try this. If you go to my site, there's a ZBrush course there. There's a stylized character course. There's like a demon as the cover, the Oni course. And the first few lessons are free. So you can just enroll, check them out, try them out. And if you like it, you can get the course. But it's a very simple process. It can be a little bit intimidating because there's so many tools and so many elements, but it's way easier than it looks. Of course, as with everything, you're gonna need to practice. You're gonna need to spend some time mastering the tools and mastering the elements, but it's a lot easier than it looks. And you can ask people here in the chat that have taken that course. People have told me that it really changes the way that they look at ZBrush. So hopefully it will do that for you as well. When you finish the sculpting, do you just remesh again? It depends. If I just need to do like a quick render or something, you can do that. But in this particular case, I'm probably going to go through a process called Retopology, where I'm manually going to create the topology so that it's optimized for games. Because remesh will give you a good result, but it's not going to be perfect. Okay, so that's the second layer of bandages. Let's go for the third layer. So the third layer, I'm going to have one... Kind of want to have some empty spaces, so this one's going to be really inclined. See that? So it covers that sort of like area right there. So it's going to go in this direction. And then I want to have a small one right there, again, so that we see a little bit of an empty area there and an empty area there. And then I want to have a final one right here again. So that one, so we get those again, so like empty areas, and we see a little bit of bone like poking through the leather straps. The 3D police will find you if you just cracked plugins. No. How do you start creating a character when you don't know what you want to make? A very simple way to do that, Ashwin, is do something that you like. That's it. It sounds very stupid, but just do something that you like. I did a superhero for the last course. I did the Oni because I like orcs and things like that. You can do a goblin. You can do a paladin. You can do a stormtrooper. Like, just find something that you like. Fan art, for instance, is not a bad way to create something or to start something. The only thing I mentioned about fan art is that you need to make sure that you do a really good job, because fandoms can be very critical of your work. So if you don't do a good job, they're going to be the first ones to tell you it sucks. So... But yeah, like once you do that, it can be like, it's an easy way. That way you don't need to think about creating an original character, and you just follow a concept or follow an idea that's already out there. Dynamics of div, again, thickness. This one's gonna be very, very thin. It's gonna be the one that's like furthest down, pretty much. So something like that. Okay. Yeah, for instance, this one, I don't like that it's going down. So I'm gonna push it up a little bit. Like this. Trying to keep the border as clean as possible. This is the problem when working with thin areas like bandages. That the border can get very messy very quick, and it starts looking a little bit weird. And for instance, that one we don't need, so I'm just gonna hide it. Because in the bake, it's not gonna be seen on the bake if we do this properly. What is the difference between append and insert in subtool? That's a good idea. Good question. I'm not sure. I always use append. I normally use append, but I'm actually not sure what the difference from a software perspective is. Because that curve right there kind of like kills the illusion. But I don't want to have too much empty space right there. So at this point I might just like push this forward or up and have a thicker bandage right there. Maybe like go into this one, and I'm gonna use move topological so that it only moves this bottom part. And there we go. That's it. So that's how we get some nice wraps there around the character. Now, what else can we add to this thing? Of course, we need to add a little bit more detail to the bone, like more noise and things like that. But how else can we, or what else can we add? Thinking some like carvings on the bone, like, you know, kind of reminds me of like a voodoo or like a necromancer's like weapon, right? So I'm thinking maybe something like that. Gotham, it's getting better, man. Still hurts a little bit. It's getting better. Next week I need to go and take another x-ray to see how things are like healing up. And then doctor's gonna tell me what's up, what's next. Feathers? No, I don't think I want feathers. What have you been playing lately? I am addicted to Marble Snap, and especially now that I cannot move as much, I've been playing Marble Snap way too much, guys. Wait, I'm ashamed to admit how much I've been playing that game. It's very addicting. Okay, let's try adding some detail here in the bow. Let's go. Add a human skull? Where? That would be an interesting one, but I'm not sure where. Give me 1 second, guys. Just need to check something really quick. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I got the 3D printer. I have a camera near the 3D printer. So I just need to monitor that's actually 3D printing the egg that I showed you before. Some chains, I don't want to make it super. I don't know. I want to keep it simple. It's what I mean. I want to keep it simple. A human skull embedded through the eyes. I don't know. Wouldn't that be too much? Let's try that. Let's see. I should have a skull somewhere. Where do I have a skull? I have a raven's skull thing here. Cheetah skull. I have a cheetah skull. That could work. Let's try the cheetah skull. Okay. Let's do merge visible. 10th. Probably very small. There we go. Let's center that. Yeah, I guess that could work, right? Like maybe this thing is sitting on top of the tibia bone right there. And the jaw is going to be opened a little bit more. Yeah, I like that. How far do you think someone can get in sculpting with just a mouse? Not very far, man. Not very far, unfortunately. I strongly recommend that you invest in a tablet. They're not expensive. Like, you don't need a pen display. That's a question that we get asked, like, commonly. Do I need a pen display or, like, the fanciest Wacom now? You can get a Wacom tablet or a Huion tablet or a XP Pen tablet. Like, there's a bunch of brands nowadays. And you can get all of them for, like, 40 bucks, 50 bucks, maybe? That's how much a game costs. So instead of buying a game a month, just buy yourself a tablet, and it's gonna allow you to learn a skill that's gonna allow you to get money and buy more games. You're not gonna have time to play them, unfortunately. But that's the sad story, or the sad part of being an adult. Like, I've been trying to play Elden Ring ever since it came out. I just don't have the time. I just don't have the time. This is not working. Give me 1 second. Let's take a look at the polygroups, because we got some. I'm gonna do on other groups. There we go. There we go. Control W and Control W. There we go. So now, as you can see, polygroups are like one of the best things that Zbrush has, to be honest. Which is the option to quickly select one part. Ah, come on, really? There we go. Okay, now this. There we go. But then I think what we need to do is grab the bolts and really drive them through both of the elements. Anthony, it's getting better. It's getting better. Still not completely healed, but definitely better. Okay, so I like this. It definitely looks like a shaman's weapon or something. Yeah, you gotta be careful with the displays, because it can get a little bit uncomfortable. Some people like to have this sort of like arms, so they can move the tablet all the way forward. So yeah. Buy Wacom or Huion. I did a big mistake and bought a Biek tablet. Software is garbage and the pen is not accurate. Yeah, I've only tried 3 different things. I've only tried Wacom, Huion, and XP Pen. And I have no issues with any of them. Like, they work. I don't like the XP Pen software. That's why I don't like those tablets. I really like Huion, and they sent me this tablet, so I'm happy, of course. I'm not sponsored or anything, but they did send us the Huion pen display so that we could showcase it. Yeah, like Retopo is gonna be crazy. Yeah, I'm not gonna deny it. The Retopo is definitely gonna be crazy. But here's the thing: like, if you want to do something cool, you gotta invest in it, right? Now, unfortunately, this is not going to be really a jaguar's head or a cheetah's skull, because the size of the thing, it's going to be more like a cat's skull, right? So, because if you think about this, the weapon, it's like the skull is going to be roughly about, maybe like a cheetah. I mean, they're not that big, are they? I know the skull. Yeah, this is from the next to the course, but that one's already outdated. I think I did that in 2022. So a lot of new things have come in Zbrush in the last couple of years. Yeah, I like it. I don't know. Again, I'm thinking about maybe something here on the bottom part. I'm not sure if a chain is a good idea. I mean, again, I'm trying to think. I still have the Wacom Intuos 4. It's about, yeah, I had my Wacom for like 10 years as well. Close to that. I think it was like 9 years or something. And then I changed to a pen display with Huion. I'm gonna give that to Wacom. Wacom does have like a really good quality, so they're gonna last you quite a bit of time. And I know some cheaper brands might struggle with that. Let's clean a little bit of those weird bandings that the bone has right there. Yeah, so the retopo of the blade itself and everything else is relatively easy. The skull is what's going to take a little bit longer. But that's what I tell you guys all the time on portfolio review. Like, you cannot expect to have an asset. Like, here, I'm going to show you. This weapon right here, like if I finish this weapon, retopo, texture and everything, I would still not call it a portfolio piece. Why? Because it's relatively simple. It's more like an exercise, right? I would need to add more stuff to it. But just adding this thing right here makes it enough, like, I would say, complex enough that it can definitely be a portfolio piece. I still feel like we're missing something. And I'm going to explain a very interesting concept here. There's always these things called rest areas, these are areas where there's not a bunch of detail, and the audience, whoever is watching this, can, well, rest, right? They can just wait until their eyes move to a part where there's more detail. So all of these things right here technically count as rest areas, same as this big thing right here, same as this part right here. Of course, the skull is a very complex area, and the bandages are complex as well. But I feel like this two have a very, very simple thing. Like, I still feel like we can add something there. It could be in textures though, like we could add some blood and things like that. But I feel like the bone, I'm drawn towards adding some sort of like, you know, runes or like like something there. I think that could potentially work, but I'm not sure. Have you played Marble Contest of Champions? I tried it, but I didn't like it. I used to play Marble Future Fight as well, a long time ago. But yeah, before doing Retopo, people remember to know what vertex normals are, when to smooth and harden it. Yes, yes. In this case, you might only need hard edges on the blade itself. Everything else is probably gonna be smooth, to be honest. But yeah, you definitely need to make sure you know where your hard edges are gonna be. Use a cool tooth like a talisman on the bottom, like from the God of War games, maybe. Like another pointy bit. I'm not sure if I want another pointy bit. Microphone. This is a Shure M7X, I think. It's a gift that we got actually from one of our subscribers here on Twitch. Stiefelbauer was his name. Haven't seen him in a while. But he gave us that gift earlier this year, in January, I think. New Zbrush course can be cool with the little modeling section. There we go. Yeah, we're at 20k, man. 21k, I think we're already. Next milestone is gonna be 30k. I don't think we can get to 30k by my birthday, which is gonna be on August 30. But we'll get there. I'm thinking maybe I think by the end of the year we should be hitting 30k, probably. Nah, I don't think we'll ever get to 1 million. We're not Mr. Beast. No, 1 million, like 20k is I feel like completely impressed by it. Especially for a topic such as 3D, which is very niche. I think we're doing great. Any big plans for your birthday? Not yet. Last year we did. We were working on a dwarf, and it was a very cool experience. We're definitely gonna have some sort of like giveaway or something, but haven't planned anything special. Copa, what's up, man? Welcome. There we go. Little win with the sub. Thank you, man. Appreciate. Yeah, I think Blender Guru is one of the biggest guys in YouTube. The guys from Flip Normals are also quite big. Yeah, there's a couple of them that are on the big side of things. Do a collab with Flip Normals store. We've I think we're talking, or I'm not sure if we've reached out to them yet, but we probably could do something. Have you thought about collaborating with other Mexican 3D artists? Yeah, I mean, we've thought about collaborations. It's just like this past 2 weeks again have been a nightmare due to the accident. But yeah, collaborations, more contests, the live classes, like there's plans here for the channel. Like we're trying to find more stuff to implement. Let's add a fracture here. Now, since the tibia is asymmetrical, this is where we can use that sort of like advantage, let's say, and add some extra details that are not on the other side, right? There we go. The leg's getting better, Patrick. Thank you. Thank you. It is getting better. The next course is going to be environment, and we're going to be using Maya Defam. It's going to be coming. The next course. It's the next course for environments. I did do a course back in the day with Nextut, but that one was, I think, the first course I did, so it's very outdated now. I mean, it still has some interesting things, but most of it is quite like outdated. Like, I remember at that time I was explaining UDIMs as if they were like the new thing. And nowadays everyone is using UDIMs because they're super important. So, yeah. And yeah, as Hudson is saying, there's not just one environment. We're actually going to be going through a lot of different things on the course. Okay, now this was an old skull, so I'm also gonna give it a little bit of touch-up. Especially to sharpen some details. You don't make videos for Nextdoor anymore? Kai, where have you been living? No, man. I left Nextdoor last year. I am no longer part. A lot of people thought that Nextdoor was mine or something. But no, I was hired by them. And I I don't do videos for them anymore. Andy the Lich, what's up, man? Hello. Welcome. Yeah, there were, usually we were like 2 or 3 instructors. So like doing constant videos. And I was given the opportunity to do the YouTube thing. That's why a lot of you guys know me. Because I started doing the YouTube for them. But as I explained before, there were some creative differences that we had about where we wanted to take the channel and the tutorials and everything. So at that point, not much else to do. The journey there was over. I'm, as always, extremely thankful for all of the opportunities there, but you always gotta look for what's best for you. I told you, Maja, which one? With the robot guy or with the like a chess set? There was like a chess set, like a haunted house thingy that I did. Yeah, I did. I think I did like 20 tutorials for them, plus 600 videos on YouTube or something. You know what the funny thing is? Sometimes I still look for some of those videos when I need to refresh my memory on some of the things or topics that I need to check. So I would look things like, I don't know, displacement connection, because I forgot the specific setting, and one of the first results is one of those old videos. It's like, oh, there you are. Just like myself, my old self giving me advice. It's funny. How can you decimate this without creating weird artifacts with normals? You just decimate. I don't think there's gonna be any artifacts, man. Okay, so I think we're in a good position here, and we can use a little bit of the time. We still got like 40 minutes left in today's stream to do a little bit of retopology. I think that will be fun, and yeah, we can do that. So first, let me say this. Because I definitely think that if we want to add something else, it's definitely going to be in textures. So if we are going to add like some runes or some carvings or something, we can always do that in the height map information. Oh, that's a good question, Andy. So I mean, I'm not an expert in copyright laws, right? But technically, what I sold to Nextdoor was the course, not the characters. So I could use Thyros. I've used him as examples and things like that. I could use Arya, I could use all of those things. However, from a, let's call it marketing perspective, it's not really in my best interest to do that, because as I've mentioned before, unfortunately, if you buy right now and buy one of the courses from Nextdoor, the ones that I did, I don't get a single penny. So if I just keep showing Thyros all the time and people are like, oh, that's very cool, then it becomes a little bit difficult to get you guys to check the new courses that are on the site, right? So it's a little bit of a decision that I need to make there. I'm definitely going to be doing a new course, like the Thyros course, like a full character pipeline. One of the things that I wanted to do actually was do a live class, like a workshop, where we go through that process and I show you how to do a character from scratch all the way to final delivery. But yeah. Hello, that looks freaking amazing. Thanks, man. Yeah, it's we just started. We just started this thing. Well, I mean, it's a little bit of an understatement, right? Because this skull was already done. This is from an old exercise that I did. So I'm recycling some assets. And this is what I was mentioning earlier today, guys. You are totally fine. Like, if you want to do this, do it. Like, there's no base mesh police that's gonna go to your house and be like, oh, you were recycling base meshes. You are a froth. You cannot be an artist anymore. That's not how it works. Let's hide this. One thing I did forgot to do was on this one right here, we do need to add a little bit of a break on this thing. Base mesh police. Is the next character course no, we don't have a next character, guys. We don't have a next character. Right now, the last character that we did was a realistic character, not for real, but realistic-ish, which was Duncan here, which was the anatomy course. So this one's already there on the site. It's only the high poly, but it's full on anatomy. Like, we have literally one chapter for each of the different parts of the character. For stylized stuff, there's Styros here on the Styros. There's the Oni here on the Zbrush stylized course. There's the Marble Designer, which is also sort of like realistic for the Plague Doctor. But no, the workshop is going to be realistic, so like Thyros. Or the next course. But the next course is Environment. That's the next on the list. Are you going to 3D print this? I was not planning to, but we might. I mean, we could. There's nothing stopping me, to be honest, except maybe I need to buy more filament, because it's definitely going to be a big one. Is this a freestyle, or are you following? It's freestyle, Andy. So the idea came from someone on Instagram that suggested that I took my broken leg scan and do a weapon for it. I could not use my broken leg because I tried to extract the information and it didn't work. So I just downloaded a tibia, like a human tibia. It's a scan. It's not my scan, but it's a scan. And I'm using that one as a base reference. So it's just inspiration. No, it's not my leg. It's not my leg. I tried doing it with my leg, but unfortunately the information, like they don't use like FBX and STLs and things like that, right? So I was trying to find a way to convert that information and I couldn't find it, so I'm stuck with this. But it's not my actual leg. Yeah, it would have been cool if it was my actual leg. I did manage to get a nice scan of this front part of the leg, so like this part right here with Substance Sampler, but then the rest of the leg was missing, so it's the spirit of the leg. You're very skilled. I'm very old. That's the reason, my friend. It's not that I'm skilled, it's that I've been doing this for a long time. It's all about... See, like, I've told this story before. When I went to Noman, I was the only guy there that didn't know how to draw, didn't know how to paint. Like, I had no previous art experience. There were a lot of people out there that have been drawing and painting and sculpting for the past, like, 10 years. I remember this guy. I've mentioned him before. I love his stuff. His name is Beat Reichenbach. I'm not sure he was from Germany or, like, some European country, of course. And he had 10 years of experience when he went to Noman, or like 8 years of experience, something like that. He'd been playing with Blender and other things for a long time. So whenever we were doing projects, his were always like freaking amazing because he had way more experience. So it's not about that. And remember, you never should compare yourself to other people. You should compare yourself to yourself. So did you improve from last year? Did you improve from last month? Like, have you learned a new skill or new experience? That's how you do it. I should do a meetup someday with your AVL 3D students. Sometimes they're around here on the chat. Tadeo is one of the ones that sometimes is here present on the chat. But yeah. Oh, sorry. You mean AVL 3D students and the new students. Yeah, I would love to do that. I mean, here in Mexico, it might be a little bit easier. For instance, in Monterrey, I know we have a bunch of students right there. I teach at a university. You guys know this as well. So... most of my in real life students are also my students from the courses. they double dip there. They take the courses and they take the classes. But yeah, like if I ever go to Europe, I'll plan something. I'll be like, hey, I'm gonna be, I don't know, in London for the next day. I'm gonna be in Rome next weekend or whatever. That'll be fun. Or who knows, maybe I get famous and schools start inviting me to do like speeches and things like that. That would be cool. Travel the world teaching 3D. That's the dream, right? No, I live in Mexico. I'm close to the U.S. though. Like we're like 2 hours away from the border. Like 2 or 3 hours away. So I'm not that far. I actually went to Texas a couple of months ago to pick up the printers, the 3D printers. We went all the way to San Antonio. How much time do you spend teaching uni per week? This semester's having a little bit slower, so I would say like about 3 hours per week. But there was a time where I was teaching up to 20 hours. Like during the pandemic, I was hired at 3 different universities here in Mexico, and I was teaching classes at all of them, all online, of course. So it was like, okay, guys, see you later. Close that meetup, go now into Zoom or go into Discord and start the new class in another school. I was teaching like 20 hours or something, plus doing the tutorials, plus doing the videos. It was it was a tricky time. Even my wife, she was like, you need to cut on some of the classes. You need to stop doing that because you're not going to be able to keep up with that rhythm. Okay, so yeah, I think, again, we're ready to jump onto the Retopo stage. I was just missing that little detail right there. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn off the skull, because the skull is pretty much its own little asset. So it's going to be a lot easier to retopologize this asset as its own element. And here's the big question. Do we retopologize everything as a single mesh, or do we keep things separate? What do you guys think? What do you guys think? It depends on the school, Smash. I was in a school that was paying very, very, very little, and I dropped it very quickly. And there's others that pay a little bit better. Yes, exactly. Separate is easiest. It's way, way easier to just like retopologize the bone, retopologize the blade. The bone and the handles will probably be the same one though. It's probably best to do them as a single piece. But everything else should definitely be separate. So handles plus bone, it's 1. And then the actual like a blade is 2. And then the bolts are 3. That's gonna be definitely the easiest way to do it. One hell even! What's up, man? You've been binging the YouTube videos? There you go. Separate for better texture resolution. It's not really for texture resolution, it's mainly for ease of retopology. Because yes, you can do a watertight mesh that holds everything together in a single piece. It's just too much of a hassle. So what I'm gonna do here is I am going to export. Well, first I want to combine. Let's combine the, let's say merge down to combine the stripes. Merge down. There we go. Okay, so this is very important, guys, because we're going to be exporting this. You need to make sure that every single object has a proper name. So on this extract, I'm going to rename, and these are going to be called letter straps. And then this one's going to be called blade. And then this one's going to be called bolts. And then this one's going to be called skull. Okay, so we're gonna save first. Always save. Do not forget to save. There we go. And once that's saved, I'm gonna go to C plugin, decimation master. I'm gonna say pre-process all, and this will go through each element, and it will decimate it individually, so that each keeps the same sort of like resolution that we want. Yeah, it's better. It's what if it's for a video game? It's fine, because at the end of the day, Cow, you're still gonna combine everything into a single mesh. So the object at the end, it's gonna be one single object. It's just one object with the transform information and things like that. But it will be what's the word? It's just easier for you to manage. The only, I'm not sure I would even do this like a single mesh. Like back in the day, it was like theorized that it was better to keep everything as a single watertight mesh. Sometimes for characters, for deformation purposes, but nowadays they don't care about that. Like, computers have gotten so much better that it's really not that important. Again? Oh, okay, yeah, I remember now why. There was no, I did fix everything, didn't I? Maybe this one has an issue. Let's go geometry, modify topology, close holes. Maybe it had some holes or something. That's weird. Okay, I don't want to do it one by one though. Let's try again. C plugin, preprocess all. No, something's freaking out. Okay, we're gonna have to do it one by one. Thanks, Rohan. Thank you very much. No, again, Gassi, it's not really because of for Android, because again, when you combine everything into a single object, okay, here, let me show you. So, let's say you have this, right? These are 5 objects. So if you have this 5 objects as separate 5 objects, these are 5 draw calls, right? Like you need to get the information from each one of these different elements. So it's gonna take you, or it's gonna cost you a specific amount of memory. But if you combine them all into a single mesh, it's now just one draw call, and it's the exact same thing. You're seeing the exact same thing. It's just that this one's more efficient just because it's combined into a single object. That's what Hudson was saying right there. Like you just combine them and that's fine. You could argue that maybe if you grab all of this, make a boolean, you might reduce the amount of polygons, so you're saving a little bit there. But it's I would say it's like so what's the word? It's so small. Like the difference is so small that it wouldn't really matter too much. So okay, this is save again. We're gonna have to do this manually. So C plugin. I'm just gonna. Actually, let me save this as a different file because I'm gonna mess this up. I'm gonna call this decimated. There we go. So we're gonna go here and we just need to decimate this to a point where it's easy to handle. So let's go 35K for instance. Because we don't need all the detail, we just need the main silhouette and forms. There we go. Do the same for this one. So C plugin, 35K. Yeah, it depends, as Hudson says. It depends. Okay. C plugin. Decimate. Yeah, it's exactly Milkmaster 69. Damn, guys, you guys picked the like weirdest names out there. But yeah, polygons nowadays are not that much of an issue. Like, just think about the Switch. The Switch is pretty much like a cell phone from 5 years ago, and it's just it can still run like a bunch of polygons. ¿Cómo sigues de la pierna? Muy bien, Pachuli, ahí vamos, avanzando, poco a poco. Okay, that one's fine. That one's 22K polygons, so it's not that big of a deal. There we go. And the bandages. Yeah, some characters in AAA games can get all the way to 250K easily, yeah. Okay, now we do need to combine the tibia with the bandages. So let's do a merge down here. Okay, perfect. So now, as you can see, we have 4 elements. We have tibia plus bandages, we have blade, and we have the skull of the cheetah. So now I'm gonna go C plugin, FBX export import, export all, export. Let's call this tibia. We need to find a cool name for this weapon. Tibia cool, yeah, that's fine. And let's go to TopoGun. Isn't the tip of the blade too perfect, like no chips, dents? This one right here? Yeah. It's just to make it look sharp. File. Load reference mesh. And we're gonna go TPS sickle. There we go. So this is it. We're inside of wait, no, this is not it. The hell? Was that it? I'm missing things. TBM, blade, copy blade. The hell? C plugin all export TBS equal. I'm not sure why that's doing that. Huh. Okay. So something is freaking out. Let's go to Maya and check real quick. Something is freaking out on the export. Wow, that's really weird. You guys see that? Like, we're getting this blade copy 1, blade copy 2. Why? It's really weird. I'm gonna try this. Export all subtones. Where is it? Export. How much time? We got like 30 more minutes, man. 30 or 40 more minutes. Yeah, I'm quite used. I'm actually having the opposite like problem. I was recording a Spanish class during the week, and I was messing up quite a bit and saying things in English, and it makes me sound like such a dick to be talking in English while talking Spanish. Like, who's this pretentious motherfucker, right? But yeah, I'm being honest. It was not intentional. Okay, let's save this real quick and let's open again, because I feel like it's Zbrush like freaking out here. Let's close and open again, because I don't want to export. Like, I mean, I can export everything one by one, but it's just so slow, right? Let's see. Yeah, no, it happens. Do you have videos teaching nanomesh? Thanks for all of the tutorials. No, I don't have, actually. Do I? No, I did a rope video last year. You know what? That's a good idea. Nanomesh. I mean, the thing is, there's so much information about nanomesh out there that it feels a little bit weird to just do it again. They usually use nanomesh for chain link, right? Or chainmail. TBS Racer. That's a good name. No, Maxon haven't reached out. No, we're still small for Maxon, I think. I think we need to get to like 50k subs or something. Like, not even during like next to, we didn't get any sort of like reach out or anything. Okay, let's try this again. Let's see, C plugin, transform, C plugin, FBX export import, there we go. Let's try visible. I don't know if that changes something, but let's try visible. Let's export TBS echo. Okay, now let's give it a go over here. There we go. Now it's working. Okay. So now we can go to TopoGun. Let's see. TBX. I love that, Ariel. TBX. It also has this sort of like Mayan, you know, like naming convention. I like that. I like TBX. If you were able to bring one feature from Blender to Maya, what would it be? Probably the modifiers, like being able to have the modifiers as a stack rather than permanent, like a bevel modifier, mirror modifier, and be able to toggle them on and off. I think that's very, very handy, but it's a completely different way to approach it, right? I think 3D Studio Max does it that way as well. That's one thing that I really like from Blender. And of course, I don't know why Maya hasn't been able to do that, but cycles and their real-time rendering, like where you can actually see the render in the viewport and be super fast with denoiser and everything, it's just magical. Like cycles is, I know some people think, I mean, Arnold is very powerful, don't get me wrong, but straight out of the box, especially for simple things, I feel like cycles is way, way better. There we go. Perfect. So now we're here. And the cool thing is that since we have all of them separated into multiple meshes, we can very easily hide and work on just one specific area. So let's start with this one. Jimmy, normally I don't do this, but I did do a very good tutorial with Nextut about rigging. So if you look for that one, Introduction to Rigging for Maya, you're gonna find it, and I think that one's really good. And you're gonna learn the basics of rigging. We do a full human IKFK character, so again, I don't get a single cent from that one, but it's a good one. I'm not gonna deny it. Like I do feel very proud about all of the tutorials that I did, to be honest. So yeah, you can definitely get that one. Because I feel like one of the big things that I did with that tutorial is that I explained things. I think rigging and a lot of different areas in the 3D world, they suffer from this thing where people just tell you, hey, yeah, just click here, click there, and that's it. You're good to go. And you're like, yeah, but why? Like, why do I need to do that? Why does it work that way, right? And a lot of people don't mention it because for a lot of people it wasn't mentioned to them, so you don't really understand why things work the way they work, right? And I feel like I did a good job on that one, explaining things. I mean, that's my teaching method pretty much. Like in all of my courses, I always explain the why. I'm really proud about the new anatomy course because I do exactly that, but for all of the anatomy of a character. So you do get a lot of cool information from there. Next to tutorials are seen. Yeah, that's why we don't do Udemy anymore. Because when you upload a tutorial to Udemy, they get it and pirate it very quickly. I don't know how they do it, but they do it very quickly. And I know pirating has this sort of like feel where people are like, oh, it's fine or whatever. It does hurt us, especially the small guys, right? Like, I'm not big. If I was making, I don't know, like $1 million a year, I'll be like, yeah, pirate as many of my videos as you want, but we're not there, guys. We're not there. Yeah, this is TopoGun. This is TopoGun, my friend. It's a retopology software. We were sponsored by TopoGun. These guys are super cool. And I didn't know, but it's a very small team. I think it's just like two people, right, David? Just 2 people developing the whole thing, the whole TopoGun thing. And they were super cool. We'll still get that discount, by the way. If you get the TopoGun course on our site, you get access to a coupon. Or not, it's not a coupon, but it's like a step. Or like a special deal, because they're considering us to be an educational institution, which is pretty cool. And you can get TopoGun for 20% off, like a full perpetual license. I love Retopology. So relaxing. I know some people hate it, but once you really get to know, or once you really, again, understand the process, it can be quite relaxing. Yeah, it's only 2 people. Only 2 people doing the whole thing. The whole development. I also thought it was like a big team or something. Nope. It's just 2 people. Triangles. Not bad, guys. Triangles are your friends. But they're dangerous friends, so you need to know where to use them. But they're perfectly fine to use. It depends. Again, I'm just answering this question, right? One hell of a... triangles are fine, again, as long as you know where you are placing them and why you're placing them. For instance, here on the top, the reason why I'm adding a couple of triangles is to make sure that we have a smoother, cleaner silhouette. And I don't need to add as many edge loops, right? So it saves me a couple of polygons here and there. As long as the object is not going to deform, triangles are fine. At the end of the day, everything in 3D gets triangulated at runtime, so it really doesn't matter. But yeah, if the object's not going to deform, it matters even less. So yeah. Yeah, triangles in flat surfaces, perfectly fine as well. What software is this? This is TopoGun, my friend, Archon. This is a software specifically used for retopology, which, as you guys know, is the process to recreate a game-ready, low-poly version of your high-poly so that you can run this optimally inside your video game. Or your render, even. I'm just gonna do half of this, of course, and then later in Maya, I'll just mirror it when I'm doing UVs. Here's where things can get a little bit tricky, but as you can see, that's a flat area, so no big deal. We're just gonna have a triangle right there. I love the bridge tool. It's just so fast. There we go. No, Engons, no, never Engons. I've seen some beginners on YouTube when they do retopo, they work so hard for simply quads. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those, again, sort of like things that has been perpetrated for a long time. And I understand why teachers teach you, like, no, don't use triangles ever. And because if you don't know how to use them, you're gonna get like a mess. You're gonna make a huge mess. And that, of course, it's complicated for everyone. But if you do know how to use them, they're perfectly fine. They're a super important tool for any true like development. So you will use them, you will need them, but you need to know when and why to use them. So it's easier, especially when you're teaching a beginner about 3D. It's like, yeah, don't use triangles, because if they don't know how to use them, they're probably gonna have, like, mess it up, right? So that's why I would say some people avoid teaching about triangles. But no, in all my courses, I always encourage people to use triangles when needed. This is TopoGun, my friend. TopoGun. Okay, so that one's good. Let's save real quick. Let's call this TBX. TBA, and then there we go. And now let's go to, let's do the bolts. The bolts they're an easy one. They're so easy, I'm bored even thinking about doing them, so I'll do the bones instead, because we only have a little bit of time left, and I wanna do the bone. Let's see. One thing I never understood was how do the quad trees from Topology get the details from the high poly one? I've never done it. Is it like a bake? It is a bake. That's exactly what it is, my friend. It is a bake. Okay, so you guys want to see one of my favorite tools here? The freaking loops tool. It's so good. I'm gonna make this, I think 16. It might be a little bit too high. Let's do 12. Boom. Done. That's it. This is why I freaking love TopoGun. It's so good. Yep, that's crazy. That's the beauty of softwares. Yeah, join the church of TopoGun, guys. It's just so good. Now, for instance, here we have a little bit of a question to ask ourselves. It's like, okay, we got this bolt thingies. So do we capture that silhouette? Does it change the silhouette heavily? I would say roughly, like, yes and no. And it's kind of hidden, right? It's going to be beneath the skull. So for this particular case, I don't think it's worth it to add the extra topology. Maybe here we can add like an extra line like here, just so that it pushes up a little bit more and it captures a little bit more of the detail. That might be worth it, but you don't always need to capture every single bit of silhouette, because this is again going to be hidden by the skull, by the cheetah's skull, and it's just geometry that you're never going to see. So that's it. Let's go here to the head. Now, this is an asymmetrical element, but that doesn't mean that it needs to be perfectly asymmetrical. We can have some sort of like idea of where things are going. Actually, TopoGun came before Quadros, Maya's Quadro. I remember using TopoGun 2. This is TopoGun 3. Back in the day, it was TopoGun 2. And it was way before Maya had any retopology tools. Before that, like, I started learning 3D in 2011. At that time, Maya didn't have any, again, retopology tools. You know what we had to do if we wanted to do retopology? C-sphere retopology. I wouldn't wish my worst enemy to have to do C-sphere retopology. It's like the most... Like, I cringe every time I see someone doing C-sphere retopology. Not because it's bad. Like, it totally works. But it's just so painful. So freaking painful. There we go. I did back in the day. Again, when I was learning, they did teach us how to UV layout. Which is the UV layout, by the way, that or the unfold that Maya later on inherited. So it works under a similar algorithm. To be honest, unless you're doing something very specialized, the basic unfold tools from Blender and from Maya are more than enough. Yeah, I don't like the... Like, if there's one thing Zbrush could improve is retopology. For instance, here, see, I'm using a triangle. Why? Because I need to capture that little sort of like ledge that we have right here. And it's easier to capture it with a triangle. And later on, like around here, that triangle might disappear. Again, not too worried about this area right here on the weapon because it's going to be hidden by the cheetah's skull. But then again, like we could do eventually, like I'm thinking from a gameplay perspective, right? You could eventually have something like an upgrade system where in the game you start with like just the basic handle and the basic sickle, and the cheetah head you get later on, right? Like an upgrade. And that's why it's also a good idea to keep things as separate meshes, because otherwise you cannot do that. You don't want to know, Milkmaster. You don't want to know. It's a method that you use C-spheres to draw or redraw the retopology of your object. It's painful, man. It's painful because you need to pretty much click outside of the viewport every time you add a new polygon. It's just very time consuming. Very, like, it doesn't flow nicely. It's just not. It's not worth it. Okay, here's a cool thing. Whenever you have two triangles touching each other like this, that means that you can have a quad. So instead of having that looks odd, that looks weird. So I'm still gonna like move them like this, and this looks better. Yes, we'll still have two triangles, but it doesn't look weird. Box retopo, skull. I never did box retopo. But I know that was like an old method as well. For instance, here, this area is going to be very tense, so it's easier for me to add a triangle right there. So that it's not as tense. And the important thing about retopology is silhouette. You want to hit the big silhouette points of your element to get. And we covered all of this on the Retopo course, guys. If you want to check it out, if you want to learn a little bit more about like this whole process. Not in a rushed way like we're doing it right now. Again, I'm working right now close to what I would be doing if I was just working on a project. When I'm teaching tutorials, of course, I do things a lot slower so that I can explain all the steps. Which softwares can you use? Like all of the softwares that I know? That's a lot. do know a lot of softwares. But I would say my 5 biggest ones are, of course, Zbrush, Maya, Substance, Unreal, Photoshop. Those are the ones that I use the most. Marmoset. There we go. Now see here, like that's too much of a distance right there. So I'm gonna go right there. Just add one more edge loop so that we can capture that silhouette a little bit better. Cool. You also have a smooth brush here to smooth things out and conform to the surface a little bit better. And as you can see, we have a little bit more density here on the top part where there's more detail, and less density on this lower part where there's not as much detail. Now, this is an important question, or an important part right here, because we got the freaking bandages. And the problem with the bandages is that they change the silhouette. And anytime you have something that changes the silhouette, you need to take that into account. So what I like to do here is I like to go in to the low point right there, and then going to the high point. Now, I'm not going to capture every single silhouette. So for instance, all of these things right here, we can definitely skip all of that. And all of that information is going to be baked down. Yes, it's going to look a little bit weird. And here's again, depending on the budget that you have for your project, you might be able to pretty much like go in and out every single little step of the bandages, like that little stair step that you see right there. If you can afford it, go for it, because you're gonna get a really good result on your bakes. It's gonna look very, very nice. However, as you can see here, it's definitely gonna take a little bit longer to do. So you're gonna have to do this, and then this, and then this. And again, imagine doing that all throughout the bandages. It's gonna take a while. I'm not gonna do it right now because it's gonna take quite a bit of time. I'll do it on my own, of course. It's just I don't want to bore you guys with that whole process. We're probably gonna have to do another stream with this weapon, right? You guys want to see the rest of the process, like the UVs and the texture? Yes, if you just use a cylinder and you bake everything down into a cylinder, it will look like the bandage, but it will look flat. You're not gonna see that nice little silhouette going around the whole thing. So it's one of the things that you need to evaluate. There will be certain games where you won't have the poly budget to do that, to capture every single detail, and you're gonna have to do that. You're gonna bake everything down into a flat surface. But in this case, since this is not for any specific game, and I really want to make sure that this looks as nice as possible, I will spend the extra time making sure I capture this little silhouette on the bandages, so that when we do the bakes, they look as nice as possible. Like if you take a look at, again, God of War, I always use God of War because I love that game. If you take God of War as a reference, you're gonna see there's a lot of silhouette changes on the armor, on the bandages, on the leather, everywhere. But when texture, you need to paint the bandages part, right? Yes, no, of course, we're gonna paint everything, and we're gonna be using the ID maps that I showed on yesterday's shorts as well. Go. So this thing right here, this sort of like stripe going down, I'm gonna have to do the exact same thing for all of the other 12 sides of the bandages. So go in and out of the borders so that I can capture that. And this is where people get a little bit like frustrated with retopology. They're like, oh, it's so boring. I don't want to do it. It's takes so much time. Yes, it does take time. Good stuff takes time, guys. You need to be patient about that. My best advice, go grab a drink, grab a snack, put on your favorite music or a podcast or something, and just go for it. Like sometimes when I'm sending quotes about projects, I'll quote a full day for just the retopo process of a character, for instance. Like a character usually takes me about 3-4 hours to do completely. Simple character. If a character has a bunch of props, it'll take longer. Yeah, movie out the background, and that's it. Pull up an Abe Leal's stream. Yeah, you can do that. You can pull out a portfolio review and just listen to the feedback and learn while you're doing your retopo. Cool. So I think that's it, guys. I think we're gonna cut it right here. Because I'm getting a little bit of pain there on the legs, so I definitely need to go and get some rest as well. But yeah, this was the final product. I think we did good, right? Like from just a single bone to this like weapon that's almost ready to go into the game. I think we got a good idea, good execution, and yeah, thank you everyone for hopping here onto the stream. We're definitely gonna have one more stream about this weapon probably next week. I think it would be a good chance to do the second part, which is gonna be UVs and textures, which is definitely gonna be cool. Remember, all of these things that we're talking about, you can find like the full process in our site. That's the best way you can support the project as well. So if you go to aveleal.com, you are gonna find the Retopology course, the Sculpting course, all of the courses that we have right there. And yeah, make sure to jump onto the Discord as well. David here is sharing the link in the chats in case you want to join, and I'll be seeing you back very, very soon. Okay, stay tuned here on the socials, stay tuned on Discord. Have a great weekend, my friends, and I'll see you back on the next one. Bye bye.